After over 400 hours of playing Halo Infinite since it launched nearly 2 years ago, I can confirm it's the content-rich game fans have really wanted it to be. Don't believe me? Did you know that Halo Infinite has nearly double the amount of maps that OG Halo games did? And this video isn't here to belittle those games because they're some of my favorite games of all time, but after researching content that was in all the previous Halo entries, I realized Halo Infinite is pretty much the most content-filled entry of the bunch. Minus one key mode that even Halo tuber Uber Nick pointed out on his Twitter. Just a quick disclaimer, it's probably too little too late for all this content I'm about to bring up to you here to be in Halo Infinite, and I'm not excusing the fact that the game was missing a lot of this content at launch. There's a story I'm going to tell at the end of this video that kind of is my mindset on things, but first, let's dive into the data as to what I found as to Halo Infinite, how Halo Infinite compares to the previous games. The data I gathered is about 6 elements, really. Campaign hours and overall achievements, multiplayer maps and multiplayer modes, armor customization options, how many forge objects could you place on a map, and PvE game types. Now, the areas where Halo Infinite really shines, in some of these very much more vastly than other games, even the Bungie era, is campaign hours and achievements. Halo Infinite's campaign takes a good deal longer to tackle than most other Halo games. Now, this is due to it being more of an open world style Halo game, and most people don't really care about the campaign anymore. They played it, they added co-op, which is great, and if you haven't done co-op yet, you should totally do that because it's fun. But that's why I wanted to wiggle in the achievements, because that is something as a Halo fan, I have always strived to try to get every achievement in every Halo game. And Halo Infinite, I am not near getting all of them because there's like a whopping 144 achievements versus the last Halo game that had the most achievements was Halo 3, 79. That's nearly double the amount of achievements, so I don't know. Maybe you don't care about that. The second of the 3 areas Halo Infinite shines is armor customization. Now, I know a lot of people want to bring up, well, half of those you have to buy. You have to purchase it. It's a microtransaction, which, fair. You know, you might just cut off a third of these, if that. But even the amount of options that you can do, mixing and matching each of them, that's where things get kind of crazy. Because there's 8 different armor cores. In each of these cores, you have 9 different body parts you can mess with. The previous top was the 7 body parts that you can mess with in Halo Reach. But then in terms of overall armor options, that was actually Halo 5. Halo 5 had like basically 90 different armors that you could go through. And while Infinite is at like around 84 or something like that, the amount of options, those 9 body parts, makes it basically impossible for you to look exactly like another Spartan. Plus, this game you could actually mess with not only just your weapons, but also your vehicles. And the last area that Halo Infinite shines is Forge. Like this one is by a mile. This is the one that like there is no comparison to Halo Infinite Forge, because in Reach, you had up to 650 objects you could place on the map. In Halo 5, they stepped that up a lot. You could have up to 1,600 objects. In Halo Infinite, you could have up to 7,000, which is why the next part of this is kind of how a lot of maps have been put into the circuit, because Halo Infinite's Forge is crazy. It's basically a development tool that is put in a free-to-play game, which is kind of insane. So, yeah, you care much more about the maps and modes. I hear you. I do too. So, how does the maps and modes compare? This is where Infinite is behind other entries. Modes, nothing has ever come close to Halo Reach, which is still the granddaddy of just stockpile headhunter. There were so many modes in this game that Bungie put in it, and they kept adding upon it too, because some community-made modes would wiggle in. But Infinite is at a mere 10 plus that wiggles in a few, like, you know, just in the social playlist, some modes that the community made. But speaking of the community, the custom game browser. The custom game browser, if you want to experience a bunch of random modes that the community has made, thanks to a lot of scripting elements that basically allows peeps to make their own game type, not just in the settings, but actually like scripting wise. They're gonna make it so if you kill the Juggernaut, then your assault rifle will shoot a bunch of rocket launchers. That's a thing. But I started this video saying that Halo Infinite had basically twice the amount of maps that even the OG Bungie Halo games had. And Let me put this into perspective. Halo Reach, that granddaddy of player modes, by the end of its like 2 or so year time span, had 20 maps at least put into the game. It's kind of 20 plus if you mix in some Forge maps that came in. But Halo Infinite's kind of just at that right now with just the developer-made maps alone. Whoa. If we include the thing that has really put this game through the stratosphere with Halo maps, it's the community-made maps that they are featuring in matchmaking. So many of these maps feel developer-made, and I even have a friend that jumped into our like remake of Valhalla, and he was like, "This was made in Forge? That's insane!" Like, he couldn't believe that it was made in Forge. And I'm like, no, it's from the ground up, yeah. And that map to me is much more obvious that was made in Forge. But if we include those maps, that puts Halo Infinite's maps to now 40 plus that have been featured in the matchmaking.
Look at it! Look at it! Look at it! I want all of you to look at it!
But even with all this content, it's probably too little too late. You know, you have over 100 achievements, you have an open world, you have co-op, you have like numerous customization options, you got all these community-made maps and stuff bleeding in, 40 maps. You have all this stuff in, so what's still missing? Ubernick, a very well-known Halo YouTuber, very positive one, by the way, I encourage you watching. I met the guy. He put out a tweet that was addressing the fact that Halo Infinite needs a PvE mode. Just something to turn your brain off and just shoot some bad guys, not get too into the fact that, you know, you suck compared to these other players. Just fight these great NPCs that 343 made in their campaign. And that'd be awesome. And when I was looking at all this, I realized how much Halo Reach really led that charge with PvE stuff. They had like 4 different firefight modes that friends and players could just hop into matchmaking and do. And Halo 5 was right behind it with its different Warzone modes, which I really think Halo 5 is an undervalued multiplayer. But Halo Infinite has nothing. No PvE mode whatsoever, just the campaign. But the man that's in charge of Forge for this game confirmed that PvE elements are on the way. He even responded to Ubernick's tweet about that. And I actually got to see him live in person talk about that at a panel I went to. And with the community-made maps that are wiggling in to the matchmaking right now, that gives a lot of potential to if forgeable AI are coming to Halo Infinite for the first time. That's like a first time ever for the entry without like modding happening. That's going to fill that void. And the rumors are really ramping up that this is going to be coming in season 5 at the end of October. And I hope that's true, but I'm not going to expect it too much per se. I definitely think by season 6. But that brings us to today. This has to do with the video I promised, but I want to tell you the story that I read when I was reading this book, The Practice of Happiness. 2 monks have made an oath to never touch the opposite sex ever again for the rest of their life. And they come across a woman that while they're journeying up this mountain, she needs help to cross this river. So one of the monks hesitates, but he lifts the woman up, crosses the river with her, and sets her down. The other monk couldn't believe that his partner monk, whatever, broke that oath that they swore. And for the next 4 or 5 hours, he was just latching onto it. He didn't know what to say. And it was a stressful 4 or 5 hours, where the 4 or 5 hours before that, they were talking, laughing, enjoying their adventure. But these 4 or 5 hours, this monk cracked and finally said, "How could you possibly have done that with that woman?" And the monk that lifted her up responded with, "Oh, you're still carrying her? I put her down 4 hours ago." The moral of the story is, what do you carry that's really stopping you from enjoying the here and now and the future? Yes, you could hold on to the mistakes you've made and the grudges against other people, but how does that benefit you? Today, right here and now, the present moment, ignoring the future and past, Halo Infinite is finally that game that as a Halo fan, I've kind of always wanted. It is visually the most stunning. The unlocks actually give me a reason to keep coming back to check out what the weekly challenge is. All the community maps, like what did they rotate in this week with how consistent they're rotating them in. The custom game browser, I just always can find something fun to do if I just want to, you know, not do anything ranked, but just have fun with friends. I still have so many achievements to get. Infection is a blast, by the way. It's my favorite version of Infection. And all this is encompassed by this new career system that you can just level up your character and have a rank to show your friends like how much and other people how much time you put into the game. Not to mention it's really cool to finally see this game at seasonal updates, not like the freaking 10-month to year-long thing that they were doing before. Now, Season 3 was 3 months long. Season 4 is 4 months long. They're finally in that seasonal rotation. The main things that are missing from this game that fans really want to see, including myself, is cross-core. Just mix and match whatever things you want from the numerous things that they've put into this game to make your Spartan look unique. And the PvE modes, firefight, just forging your own campaign levels, messing with the things that the community has made. And the cool part is, those things are confirmed in the works. That monk story, could I focus on, how long it took to get here and just blaming who knows who? Absolutely. But if I focus on the present and look at what's in Infinite now, this is finally the game that so many people wanted at launch. But the player base is pretty low. But that'll drastically change when Xbox markets whatever certain affinity, aka a lot of ex-Bungie devs, are working on adding to this game, as I dived into that in depth in this video here and why they didn't show that at the Xbox showcase this year. But make sure you subscribe for more fun game speculation and let me know what you think of Halo Infinite in the comments down below.